Hi guys, I'm Shmi and today I'm visiting SuperVeloce Racing, the UK and European sales representatives for Noble, because I'm going to be going for my first drive in the M600. It's a car I've wanted to drive for quite a long time now, often referred to as sort of the modern day Ferrari F40. So we're going to head inside, have a look at the car, have a little look around the showroom before we go for the drive. And there's quite a lot of interesting stuff to see in here because SVR are as much about the motorsport as they are the supercars. So right in front of me there is the M600. I'm going to show you around in a moment and run over some of the sort of stats and specs of the car. But let's have a quick glance around at what's in store here. So we've got a 1980s Formula 3 car right there, a more modern day Formula 3 at the back, and then over this way, the BMW Z4 GT3 car. So you can see the sort of motorsport angle. That's combined with the Lamborghinis, the modern supercars. So the 99 Diablo SV there, the first of the sort of Audi-fied Lambos with the without the pop-up headlights. We've got a Murcielago, nice grey and black combo there, as well as some sort of more ordinary cars, I suppose. The Mercedes, BMW, and there's a DBS back there, and an Aston Martin Lagonda on that side, tucked in behind the customised Defender. But we're here today to take a look at this, the 2011 Noble M600. Let's start with the basics. It's got a 4.4 litre V8, twin-turbocharged, up to 650 horsepower, but it weighs next to nothing. This thing is under 1,200 kilos with liquids. It's 1,198 kilos, which, if you know anything and can think about that sort of power to weight, is utterly off the charts. It has various drive modes, so normal actually is 450 horsepower, track is 550, and then race is 650, and you set that when you're driving. But I'm going to show you inside the engine bay as well in a moment, because it's really quite cool to see how stripped down it is. It's running on Michelin tyres developed for the car, aerodynamic kind of profile, lots of carbon fibre you can see going on here around the sort of rear window, above the engine and on the roof. Even the sort of intakes here, oh, you can actually see all the way through there. So let's open the door handle. As shown, you can see inside, very cozy inside the tub. You've got the sort of matte effect carbon inside the gloss. I quite like this as well. You've got the names of all of the people who worked on the car. It's a small team, not many of those, but this is about being a bespoke supercar experience. It's a little over £200,000, so it was a new sort of price point for Noble when they introduced this car. But I think what I'm going to try and experience today is what makes it that little bit more special. And I'm just going to point out 6-speed manual gearbox, which is utterly awesome. So to open up the engine bay, let's have a look at that, pull that lever, and come around to the back, where I can lift this up. And the thing I love about this is there is nothing here that is not needed. It is literally engine, gearbox, exhaust, wheel arches, even those are carbon, the whole body is carbon, every panel, and a lot of space. That's basically the philosophy behind keeping it light, is don't have anything in here that you don't need. It's quite nice engine cover as well, but I've also been being told that it's quite a simple car to look after. Just filters and oil change and spark plugs every 2 years. So, well, the filters and oil change annually. But I always thought these look quite cool, and they sound awesome as well, as you're going to hear in a moment. Close that back down, they click into place, and then we'll be taking it out for a drive. But just having a little look round more at the design and styling, carbon even in the headlights here at the front, which is nice, and then the sort of intakes either side. It's a very, I suppose, very British, iconic kind of design style. It's a very signature Noble. Or this car, at least. Anyway, I think in a moment we'll take it out. Let me just jump inside and I guess sit in the car just for a second so you can see what it looks like. Let's climb in. It's kind of the last of the old school with a little bit of modern built into it. Very snug. It's basically about being a driver's car, a driver's experience. You can tell that just from the shape of the steering wheel to start with, the flat bottom. Solid position, small wheel. This feels like it's going to be cool. Carbon tunnel here as well. So, nice. let's hear it, take the car outside, and then go for this drive. Too much into the sort of technicalities of the car and the different driving modes, I want to tell you a little story, which is that pretty much one of my first sort of sports car memories and what got me very excited about nice cars in the first place was back when I was a sort of young teenager, maybe sort of 13 years old. My granddad bought a Noble. He bought an M12 GTO, which back then, to me, just seemed like a complete spaceship, something ridiculously futuristic and exciting. And when I went in it a few times with my dad driving, I think that sort of solidified my bug for cars. So it's quite special to me to be back driving, for the first time driving a Noble in my life. I've never driven one up to this point, and the M600 is a pretty special place to start, and we're driving right now on a rather nice road to be doing it in. So I've got on the move initially in the sort of normal mode, which is called road. We've got 450 horsepower at our disposal, but the suspension's not too firm. I'm driving on a lovely road right now. Seat is very supportive. Everything's set up quite neatly and sort of, I guess, positioned towards a sort of racing style. You feel like the car is very raw. You can feel it's very light. You can feel all the noises. The brake pedal press is very, very firm. The clutch is also quite firm, but equally, it's not hard to use. You feel you can instantly gel with it, and you can use the car on a regular basis, even given that. In this mode, 450 horsepower, you put your foot down, I'm in third gear. You do get some power almost immediately from the go, but you can tell it's being held back a little bit. The ECU is controlling you to not let you kill yourself, because let's face it, 1200 kilos and a potential 650 horsepower is a combination recipe for disaster if you're not clued on and sensible. So by default, you have traction on in every mode. You can flick the lever up behind the gear stick and then disengage it, but we're not going to be doing that today. We'll keep traction on because it's slightly greasy out there. But one thing I notice if I put it up into track mode is without moving the throttle pedal, because the response tightens slightly, you get a little bit more power from the word go. But the feel, the way you can sort of flip the shifts all very neatly, is really quite nice. And then the power, it feels very, very all sort of connected all the way through you. You've got this whole sort of sensation, and if you get up towards the top of the red line, you actually get some really rather nice flutters off the turbos as well. So let's see if we can find that in a moment. Are just awesome. When you lift off and you get that sort of noise going on, it is so cool. And this is just in the track mode. I'll turn it up one more, we'll be in race, and now we've got 650 horsepower in full at our disposal to enjoy. And this is where the throttle is significantly more responsive. There is a lot more power going down to the wheels, and you can really feel the lightness on it as you do so. This is a quick car that it just picks up, it just goes. The power delivery is actually really smooth as well, but the turbos coming at you until there's sort of an explosion going off behind you. One of the craziest things about this is that's going to keep going to 225 miles per hour. This is very quick. It does 0 to 124 in 8.6 seconds, which, for interest's sake, I mean, my 675 LT will do it in 7.9, but that is on Trofeo-Rs, which is super sticky, has launch control, and has a paddle shift gearbox. In here, you've had to probably make a shift or two to even get there. So to put that into perspective, it's really quick. It's surprising me that it's perhaps not quite so challenging to drive. It certainly feels very raw. Pedals are very sensitive. Steering is super pointy and direct. So you want to be on your game when you're driving. But it's not difficult. It's not a challenge. It's just fun and really nicely set up. Everything you want to do is turn into a corner. Away you go. And then when you do start pushing, you get those flutters going again, which are just utterly brilliant. So far, having quite an enjoyable drive. One of the things I'm really quite liking is the gear stick. It's got a very short throw to it. It's very precise. You sort of click it in, and away you go again. It's really the satisfaction that comes from driving this kind of car. It's built for the driving experience. It might be an expensive way to go about it, but it's bespoke. There are only 26 or so customer cars so far of the M600, so it's a tiny number. It's very, very rare, it's very exclusive, and it is certainly very exciting when you're driving it. On a road like this, in a car like this, with kind of the mechanical interaction and engagement, it is just what driving is about. Absolutely awesome. I've had a good little stint behind the wheel, about 30-40 miles, so got to know a little bit more about the car. And I think what this really does is it brings sort of supercar levels of performance, 650 horsepower in something that's this light. It's like the McLaren, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, but it also has that kind of level of driver engagement through the gearbox and the rawness of the setup that you normally get out of like the GT4, the 911R, the Aston GT8, these kind of cars. So it's kind of an interesting mix of capabilities that there aren't that many cars that really fulfill this niche. Awfully exciting to drive. The power, the sensation when you put your foot down is huge. I think if I had to come up with disadvantages, the first is going to be the cost, because for the base car you're looking at a little over 200,000, add 25,000 if you want the carbon sport, the full carbon fibre body. But that is the price for sort of bespoke and exclusivity, and how special it is. There aren't very many of them. They are hand built. You have a huge interaction with the factory if you order one. The entire process that goes into that, it's all, it's beautifully finished in the sense of the carbon, the Alcantara, and the different materials. Perhaps some people might like it slightly sort of modernized on the interior, but it's functional. That's the whole point. I do like these switches for the lights here, and the central panel switch for the racetrack or road mode button there. Everything's quite neat, that's built, that's required for a purpose. The rest is not sort of worried about, because the point of this car is performance and enjoyment. And those are boxes it ticks in a very neat way. I am just going to say I really like the wheels, the thin spokes. I think those are cool. And it has stunning stopping power. The brake pedal feel is very, very firm. You have to give it a solid press, but when you do, you really can feel everything that the car is up to when it's coming to a stop. So I have thoroughly enjoyed today, driving some really nice roads, and a very big thanks to SuperVeloce Racing for allowing me to come down and drive the M600, and I guess tick off my first Noble after the story I mentioned earlier. Just standing at this angle, actually, here's something I like. That duct out behind the front wheels. I think that's quite cool. Tucked in front of the door. Hadn't really focused on that before. And when you're driving, I like how you look out through this one at the back. But yes, I'm going off at a tangent. It's been a brilliant day. Really enjoyed that. I think it's a very, very interesting car. Really interesting car, and one I'd actually love to drive in a little bit more anger, because today has been slightly damp, so being a little bit cautious. You build up speed very, very quickly, and sometimes don't necessarily realise it. But wonderful drive, really love it. I'm about drivers' cars, and this is a driver's car with a performance level up there somewhere. It's absolutely nuts. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to SuperVeloce Racing. Check out the links down below over to their social pages. That's it for today. I will catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.